there. So we're live, and I am the invisible guest today because my audio decided to tank out like a few minutes prior to coming on. Today I am joined by Stuart from Stuart Griffin and Leslie Books, Gers, and Purrs. Kat may be joining us at some point from Ginger Bibliophile. And we've been reading the Vampire Chronicles series. We're now up to Merrick. And yeah, there have been some interesting points about David as a character that really didn't strike me as I was reading it before. But before we get into that, let's start with some introductions and a bit of information about your channel in case viewers haven't popped by. So, Stuart?
Yeah, hi, I'm Stuart Griffin. I read a wide range of books, so I talk about a wide range on my channel. Horror, fantasy, romance, being high amongst them. My channel I try to do a weekly wrap up, and I also do a lot of tags. I do reviews. I do book hauls. Um, just a wide range of stuff. I try to publish 3 videos a week when I can, and I also try to watch a lot of other booktubers too.
Perfect. Thanks, Stuart.
You're
And
welcome.
yes, you've got a lot of amazing stuff. And we were talking before we came on as well that a lot of us lately our watch later lists are getting long, long, long because just trying to catch up. And there's so many great channels out there as well. Leslie?
Yeah, I agree. There's so much good stuff, and then the more booktubers we watch, the algorithm just brings me more booktubers.
Yeah.
I'm getting lost in the sauce, but yes. All right. So my name's Leslie. My channel is Books, Gers, and Purrs. I read all genres, fiction, nonfiction. I do tend to have a focus on like social injustices, and starting last year, and it'll end possibly by the end of this year, I have a interview with a vampire inspired readathon where I pop onto the bookshelves of our beloved characters and we read books that they would be reading, but it's based on their character arcs of the AMC adaptation. I am supposed to be doing Armand's bookshelf, but I have that a little bit on hiatus because I have 2 other projects going on that I refuse to do anything else till I get these other 2 projects done. So it's a little bit on pause, but if you've been following me on that, not to worry, it's coming back. I just trying to keep things realistically manageable.
Yeah, and again, I think that's it's striking a lot of us at the moment. And I mean, Stuart knows from our Voxer groups, because along with the Vampire Chronicles group, I was also doing an Akatar group, and it's too much between trying to keep up with some content, keep up with watching content. Spring's coming, and I can't lie, I want to get out and play in the dirt, like so bad. And there you can only do so much in a day, so it's trying to figure things out and prioritize and knowing when to, and thank you so much for your comment, Stuart, in the Akatar group, knowing when we have to say it's too much, there's just some things I have to stop doing.
Yeah.
Because I think often that's really hard for us. I mean, we go through that guilt of, I'm not up to date on all the booktube videos. But I mean, Leslie, you made a good point as well, is the more booktube we watch, the more it gets recommended, the more amazing channels we want to watch, but we don't get any more hours in the day to watch them. And then it becomes, wait, I haven't watched so-and-so in a few months. And there's some channels I noticed there's been no new content for 5 or 8 months. And I'm like, no wonder I haven't seen them lately. And yeah, there seems to be a lot going on with YouTube and not just some of this wild stuff where I'm seeing so many videos lately about people getting demonetized and like they're not dinky channels. There was one and it was a recommend. I don't follow it because it's fitness and hello, my fitness is yard work, not gym work. But he had a channel, well, has a channel 9 years and he just got demonetized. Just like out of the blue. I mean, I thought it was bad enough getting that mass email in the spring of you need to rebuild your channel history, blah, blah, blah. Well, it seems a whole slew of them have just gotten the you're demonetized. Thanks for making us money email. And I'm like, holy crap. And some of these people, that's their income. So, yeah, it's a big boondoggle going all over the place. And I mean, people have a whole variety of opinions of why it's happening. Some are like, yeah, it's great. They're getting rid of that AI stuff. But a lot of these channels that have been demonetized aren't AI. Like, they're not using AI heavily. It's just been kaboom. This guy, fortunately, got in touch with support, had to send in a video to, demonstrate why he should be monetized. And he got his monetization back. But there's a few people who have not. So I don't know, but I guess I'm glad I'm still inky dinky small. Trolls don't care about me, and there's no big losses at the moment. I'm still having fun, even if I don't have my priorities all figured out quite yet. But
yeah, I don't know how people do it with large channels, because I think once, don't get me wrong, it would be nice to be a larger channel, but I think I kind of joined because I thought it would be fun to. I think it was like last year. It was like the NetGalley November like sprint. So there's like a sprint train that goes on.
Yeah.
And I had so many people on, like the chat and stuff like that. And it's weird being on the other side of it. It was so overwhelming. I was like, oh no, I think I like my small channel with like maybe 5 people max. Because then I can have a conversation. But if not, I feel like it doesn't really feel like I'm able to get like an actual connection with someone. I'm like, I'm just gonna be thankful I'm where I'm at. I don't think I can handle anymore.
That reminds me, Stuart, have you tried a live stream yet?
No, I've talked for a while about wanting to try starting them, and I haven't done so. I guess it's something I should just do it. The worst that can happen is the technology fails me, and that's not the end of the world, and I learn as I go, because that is like one thing I want to do, maybe some reading sprints and stuff like that. And I've been saying that for a while, but I just haven't done it.
Well, but you'll get there when you're ready. And actually, there's one thing, and I've just figured this out because I'm having a hell of a time trying to get Streamlabs working, and I still don't. It's been days of techno frustration and all the rest of it. But the one thing I did figure out through this whole thing is you don't have to go live the first time publicly. I'm not sure why I didn't process that before, but you can go live privately and make sure that everything's working, like your audio and video, says the girl you can't see right now. But I mean, again, that's one of the, it is what it is, right? Like, you just got to expect there's going to be some kind of Uber glitch or something happening, and you keep going with it. But you'll get there when you're ready, Stuart. I mean, I'm still honored that you came on here and it was your first live stream and you've enjoyed coming back as a guest. And I mean, that's step one, is kind of seeing how that goes. And I have to admit, being a guest is cool because then you don't have to stress about how many messages are flying by and things like that.
I definitely appreciate you guys inviting me to join you. It's been great. Yeah, it was the a little daunting at first, but it went pretty well. So yeah, I really appreciate it. Get to know you guys. It's been great.
Yeah, likewise, because I don't think I even knew about Stuart's channel until we all like streamed together.
Yeah.
And now, like, I'm always binging.
And now, I appreciate Leslie's one of my best commenters. Sometimes
Yay!
more than one comment for video too. So maybe the best because of that. So I appreciate it, Leslie.
Thanks, Elaine.
Well, and see, and I try that too. And likewise, I appreciate you both being here. And I do know lately when I have been getting my act together and catching up and leaving comments. Before I'd have huge comments because I'd start when the video starts and then comment at, throughout, make points throughout. And now I'm like, hey, if I leave more than one comment, that shows more interaction and actually helps the content creator because then, YouTube's looking for interaction and more comments is more interaction. And that is the other lovely thing about live streams, because I know also another stream that I did, when I did the Jack trivia game, Gareth and Jen have made a connection and they're going to be doing a live stream about something else. So, I mean, and that's something I'm talking about. I haven't decided. It might go up this week. I've got my 350 unsubs thank you video coming up. And I even say in there, yeah, if you've been on my channel, I do bizarre things and everybody thanks their subs. I do thank you unsubs because why not? But in there, I comment too about, the reasons for making videos and doing things. You can't count that by numbers. So the connections and whether that's following each other's channel or doing live streams together, or the spin-offs of who we meet or, getting into buddy reads and group reads, analytics is never going to show you all those positive, amazing things. Yeah. So, yeah, and I even got to show off my Fluent in Sarcasm cup because I started with, no, this isn't a sarcastic video. There's, and being teeny, and this relates to what you were saying, Leslie, is being teeny, sure, I in some ways like to be a bigger channel, but I appreciate and enjoy the small community of people that I know, get to connect with. And you know what? Some of those bigger channels pulled off 350 unsubs in one video. It took me 4 freaking years. So I'd say that's a win. I'd say I'm doing good.
That's very optimistic of you, Elaine. I like that.
Hey, it's all about the perspective, right? But so, and I realized I didn't say thank you so much to everyone who could join us today for the conversation. And as always, a big thank you to Team Rewatch. And I guess we should start chatting about the Vampire Chronicles. Now, I guess overall, before we get into Merrick specifically, let's do our check-in, Team Lestat. Louis?
Yeah.
Stuart, are you still Team Lestat?
I am, despite some of the stuff that happened in the Tale of the Body Thief. I am still. I think it was the Tale of the Body Thief where there was an essay thing, and also when he turned David against David's will, which is kind of essay 2 in a way. That made me like Lestat less, but I would say I'm still a Team Lestat. It's funny, like we discussed in past. So, like in real life, I want to be friends with Louis, not Lestat. But reading it, Lestat is like an exciting, charismatic character for me, despite me seeing like the, him in a new light that I didn't see when I was reading him when I was younger.
And that's an excellent point, Stuart. And I'm really not liking my face isn't here, but it is what it is. But that's an excellent point that in real life, you would prefer to hang around Louis. But in reading, Lestat's the more interesting, adventurous character. And I think that's excellent. Because I think sometimes, I'm just thinking because someone mentioned, I guess there's one of these dark romance things conventions coming up again, and sometimes those get pretty gnarly because some people confuse the difference between reality and reading. Right? So, yes, in terms of reading, as in fictional, Lestat would be someone in a fictional world that you wouldn't mind hanging out with. But in the everyday world, Louis would be the better choice of who to chum and be pals with. So thank you for making that point, Stuart. That's excellent. Leslie, do I even need to ask?
I will always be Team Louis, but I also think Stuart. I think there is something because I think Elaine is actually saying it well. Like maybe I need to use my critical thinking more because yes, Lestat's more fun, more chaos. I think I would love to party with him for a night if I survive it. But I also think maybe one of the differences between Lestat and Louis is Lestat will just like have this like unfettered fun and like unapologetic like fun and munching on people. As where I think the difference with Louis is he'll probably munch on me anyways as well. But you know, he's very self-righteous and he might just cry after like over my body. But that's the only difference really. He'll say he feels bad. He might not, but that's what he's gonna say.
And that's an excellent way of putting it, Leslie. In particular, yeah, would you survive the night of partying with Lestat? On the other hand, you may have eternity to think about partying with Lestat because, you know, he may decide he needs another friend and just turn you instead of.
True. That is true.
He'd be like, hey, she'd be fun to go through eternity with, and then there we go.
And that's it. And that's a whole other problem. I would take it. I
don't know. I'm not looking at, oh, who have we got?
She's just all over my feet right now, so I'm trying to get her to calm down.
That little ginger?
That's Tariel. They look the same.
It's so hard to tell because they look, they look the same. It's like, okay, who's swatting at Leslie's head today from it still amazes me that thing stays in the window because my kids are chunky monkeys. There's no way my window would survive a 20-pound panther laying in it. All of a sudden on screen, you'd see my window coming in and it'd be like, okay, I think we need to end the stream now. I got to replace my window. But okay, so with Merrick, and this is very different from the stories that we have leading up to this point. Because, I mean, we've met Armand and Marius, obviously Louis and Lestat. We've learned quite a bit about their backstories, although Marius is still coming. Blood and Gold is the next one after. And so in Merrick, now we're delving a little bit more into the Telemasca. And I'm still not sure, because in the opening of this, we've got Louis doing his curled up in the, I think, is it the church? He's curled up somewhere covered in dust, and all the young'uns are coming to see him. And of course, that's how we have our other vampires coming by. And then we have Merrick and Louis with wanting to find out about Claudia's ghost. There's a lot of different elements, I think, to this story. So we get the past a bit more of David. And Stuart, you shared it in our group. I think it was your comment about David talking about meeting Merrick when she was she 10 or 12? I don't have my notes in front of me right now.
I think she was 13.
Okay.
Yeah, that was that meeting and the way David like kind of described Merrick and stuff is kind of colored kind of my view of the book. Because that section, he was like he was 13 and he wasn't a vampire yet, I should say that. And he was described, I won't say it here, but he's describing a certain body part on her, which I don't think a well into adulthood man should have been describing. So that was kind of just proper British gentleman. It kind of, I don't know. I mean, it didn't like, I still enjoyed the book, but it was like kind of, that started what I consider kind of his relationship with Merrick through the whole book was kind of, in my mind, was kind of strange. And I didn't really get it totally. But yeah, I started out when he was sexualizing a 13-year-old.
Yeah.
And I thought, that was, and then like, this is a person whom his guardian is turning over to the Talamasca and like through him. So it's kind of like, I don't know, that was kind of off-putting after Armand, where there was, SA and stuff. So to a minor, it's kind of, and almost it's too late because she's passed away. I'd almost like wondering what Anne Rice was thinking in these two books and those type of things. But that was the thing with Merrick was kind of off-putting to me.
Excellent point.
Yeah, I think that, just to add to that, because I agree. Okay, so in the Vampire Armand, right at the beginning, when David, is trying to talk to Armand about like writing or getting a story from him, David even says something like, "I like little boys," or something like that. He says something crazy like that to Armand because Armand's like 17 or something.
Yep.
When he gets turned. And then in this book, in Merrick, this is what kind of confused me. So hold on tight because I'm going to talk all over the place. I felt like she was kind of simulating the same or referencing the same dynamic as the first book. So because it's two men raising a young girl, and in Interview with the Vampire, it was Louis and Claudia. But the reason why I think it works in that first book, because it was the first book we got, it was Gothic literature, and it's actually an adult woman in like a kid's body. And I thought that was meant to be like the horror part of it, is that who could ever love you except the people that made you in like this monstrous existence. So it's never okay, but at least I understood, at least in my mind, I was like, oh, this is horror. As we're like 6 books in, I think. And I kind of feel like sometimes it doesn't really feel like quite like Gothic literature anymore. And they're all humans. It's not like they're really old vampires and are warped by time. Like he's a human man describing a human child in that way. And so, but that seems to be like part of his character that she added, that there's parts of him that he's ashamed of because like of his proclivities. I don't even know what to say about that because I feel the same way. I don't know what the heck she was trying to say.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, Leslie, about, we've got Louis and Lestat with Claudia. And then here in Merrick, we've got David and Aaron. Because Aaron does come up with this, but in terms of memories of when David and Aaron were bringing Merrick into the Talamasca. And maybe that's a bit different as well, as they had convinced the grandmother that the Talamasca was the safest place for her to be. And maybe that was the other part of it, is it wasn't just the two of them raising Merrick. Oh, I see Kit Kat's there, but she's in the chat saying kitty butt.
I know. I'm trying to like.
That's okay. Everyone enjoys a bit of cattail.
It's just chaos today between the construction and my cat wanting my attention. I'm like, why now? As whenever this is done, she's not going to want anything to do with me. I'm telling you. Just like, let me have a life.
She wants to keep you on your toes. That's the cute part. But yeah, so that is interesting that as we're going through the series, because this is my first time reading it in order. And yeah, there's a lot of things standing out about the number of times SA happens, non-consent, whether that's in terms of a relationship or suddenly becoming immortal. There's, and then there's the back and forth about the religious ideas, like with Memnoch, and there's a lot of stuff that stands out farther on, like maybe Lestat being passed out for so long after this whole veil that he found in Dora, and that, like, Lestat really doesn't seem to be able to cope with this at all. I mean, Armin decided to try and fry himself, and we know that didn't happen because he's been around just a bit too long. But yeah, unlike Marius and Pandora, the rest of the vampires really aren't that old to get as twisted up as some of their behavior might have you think.
Yeah, I just don't know. I just feel like I don't know what she's trying to say. I don't know if she's just constantly trying to remind us that ultimately all the vampires are monsters, and like they're like monsters and victims at the same time, and still very much monsters. But you look at, like, I think someone like Armand, who's just been through so much. But I find it really interesting that it's the characters that we learn about that are like super old have done such monstrous things, but they're the ones that endure. I'm not sure what you think about that, or like what she's trying to say about people that endure.
What are your thoughts, Stuart, about the endurance and her overall message with these characters?
Yeah, one of the things that I do find interesting, you guys mentioned like the religious aspect of it, along with like the treatment of children. That's a strange juxtaposition for me. But I love the cat, by the way. I know she's like frustrating you, but I love to see her.
Yeah, exactly. She's adorable.
But yeah, I hadn't thought of that aspect. That yeah, some of them like the younger ones do, like both Lestat and Armand did try to end their lives by flying into the exposure to the sun. Essentially, they were unable to. But the older ones, like they're past that. Yeah, they are accepting what they are, and they just kind of go on with their lives. So and we now see that like Lestat and Armand are going to have to do that too, because they're not able to end their lives. It's almost like it seems like, before you think of it, immortality is a great thing, but then when you really look at it like you do in these books, it's like, well, you're just going on and on and on and on, so maybe immortality is not, maybe that's part of the lesson. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if like I don't know if Anne Rice gave a lot of interviews and stuff like that where she talked about her reasoning behind the books, but it would be interesting to read those if she did, because yeah, the more I see it, it raises kind of more questions, because at the same time she was like reckoning with her return to faith. She was also, the faith is reflected in the books, but also the treatment of minors in the books that doesn't seem to kind of, I don't know, unless, like you say, it's like let's like they show the monstrous part of them, but I don't know. It's I would like to pick her brain, and it's impossible now. So
yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Leslie.
No, nothing else going. Yeah.
Well, and that's it. And I mean, again, some excellent points is, what was she thinking, or why did she write them the way that she did, in terms of, well, even with Armin just being a 17-year-old when he gets turned. And then later, and I did say there's spoilers, so people should know, in Armin, Benji is only 12 years old.
Yeah.
And yet way back in the first book, okay, granted, in the book versus the TV series, Claudia is only 5 years old. But, Marius made this big deal about not turning, people when they're young, let them have a human life first so they understand that human part. And yet it's Marius who turned Armand at 17, which is where he supposedly learned the lesson of don't turn them when they're young.
Yeah.
But then he turns Benji at 12 because he wanted to turn, is it Sibylle? Now, she was 25, and of course, she wouldn't be without Benji. But it's like, I don't know. It's just messed up.
And they could have waited. I mean, if they live forever, they could just waited till the kid matured to an adult and then change them. Because they had the time.
See, and that's the thing is, like, what was Marius thinking? I mean, his rationale was, well, Armand wouldn't turn them. But it doesn't mean that Armand wouldn't have stayed with them, that Benji couldn't have had a life or a bit more of a life and, grown a bit older instead of this 12-year-old puffing cigarettes. Like, it doesn't make sense. And, your point as well, Stuart, is on one hand, we've got this religious aspect, we've got this scholar and, hoity-toity British dude as in David, but then he's lusting after a 13-year-old girl. Now, he doesn't act on it, but, then why share what his thoughts were? Because Aaron didn't have those kinky thoughts. And then, of course, later in the book, things really start going wonky because, of course, she's an adult and all of that. And Kat, how come you're not in the chat? You're just being a little character in the sidelines here. And remember, you're doing the chaos group tag next time. There's a thing called payback, Chickapoo. But that's a side note. So then suddenly we have Louis deciding he wants to find out if Claudia is really a ghost and why isn't he able to see her? Because I'd forgotten Jessie connected with the ghost when she went back to the apartment. And then we start, and I don't know where Rice was going with this, whether she wanted to research voodoo or because it's set in New Orleans, voodoo was the only thing that was going to make sense. Because now suddenly we're looking at a whole other type of spiritual belief and way of practicing. And Merrick's a really interesting character. And she played those guys from the get-go. Like whether it was when she first got in the Talamasca, but she's definitely, once she's older, knowing exactly what she's doing with Louis and David, and they're not quite bright enough to figure it out.
I couldn't tell if it has to do with them not being bright or that she's so powerful that oh, you know what? This is what I was going to bring up, kind of looping it together. Or if it's because they're under her spell in some way. So I kind of like don't know when to bring this up, but I know it's a spoiler chat anyways. I couldn't tell if I know this doesn't make sense because clearly David has made it very clear that he said it to other people that he's into youngins. But like towards the end, I guess we have an idea of what Merrick was already aware of, that she already knew where she was going to go and how. So I wonder when she was really young, and if when David was having those thoughts, if it actually was, and I don't know if it was something like at a very young age, maybe she cast a spell on David just to like as a form of protection. I couldn't tell. Maybe I still feel even that narrative is problematic because she's still a kid. But I kind of always wondered if that was part of for her character. And that's why we get those thoughts from David. Is just maybe she was using it as a way to make sure that she goes to where she wants to and is protected. But again, that could be completely wrong because we already know David's like interested in Armand because he looks so young. But yeah, that's what I couldn't tell. That's another thing is I didn't really like the way she wrote Louis in this book because I definitely get that same sense, Elaine. It's like I kind of feel like she was dumbing him down in the book, but I couldn't tell if it was a spell, and that's why he's not really listening to everyone else. It was just this book felt like a little bit convoluted. Like I love the character Merrick. I felt like a lot happened in this book, but also nothing at the same time. You know, the fact that Lestat is kind of like in hibernated state, I guess, because he's put himself through so much through his like constant chaotic antics. And then I feel like when he does pop in, it feels like a little bit too much like a plot device rather than like a full character. You get Lestat in so many other books, you know.
Good points. Stuart, what are your thoughts?
That is an interesting thought by Leslie because we know like the adult Merrick was manipulating them with their spells and stuff. So it is like it does raise the question of when did it happen? The whole manipulation thing too was kind of interesting because the like it didn't seem to bother David in the way you would think it would bother a person if they discovered they were being manipulated, spells were being cast on them, and so yeah, I mean that does cast things in a different light. When did Merrick start doing it? Was she? I mean, she's obviously was precocious at 13, but was she knowledgeable enough to do that? That's not something I thought about, but it is something that is possible, certainly.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much really to this book. And then, I mean, and when I started reading the series again, I mean, I started back with Interview for the first book, but I had borrowed Merrick from the library first. And yeah, it's like much farther in the series. Part of why I did that is because Merrick is a Mayfair, but she's not one of the Mayfairs that we meet in the trilogy of the Mayfair witches. And even in this book, other than two of the Mayfairs showing up, and again, I've got to go back to that series, only two of the Mayfairs show up when Merrick's, is it her grandmother, passes in the house. And then Merrick gets the home. And yeah, we don't really know the connection of how this other branch of Mayfairs came to be. Well, obviously, one of the rich white hoity-toities was, lurking around in other parts of town. And I can't remember if it was Julian or one of the others now. And yeah, I can't remember. I don't think in Merrick it really tells us some of those other links to who's who in the Mayfair trilogy, which is why I'm really curious about Blood Canticle, which is a couple books down, but that is going to have Rowan and some of the other Mayfairs come in. And I'm not sure how that's going to play out because it seems like the Mayfair situation is already done by the time we get these far in the books because Aaron has already been killed. And I can't remember if that's book 2 or 3 in the trilogy. So trying to mesh the timelines and how these two cross over is about as confusing about why she made some of the choices she does with the connections and the relationships. Leslie, you've been watching the series. How far are they in terms of connecting these characters? Is it season 3?
Yeah, it's season 3. So season 1 and season 2 covered the first book.
Okay.
I think they had to break it up like that because of the pandemic. Um, so they had basically everything. Basically, season 2 was like when Claudia and Louis are in Paris, like that part
Mm.
of the book towards the end. And so this third season is the Vampire Lestat. Um, and also, basically, I think what they're doing is because all the books are out, the way that they're tackling it is it's not going to be completely in the present. It's like in the not too the very near past, and so right away, the audience is going to know that something's happened. That like Queen of the Damned is basically it is happening, and I think Lestat's trying to say like how it even got there, and in the Vampire Lestat, we know he's in a band, but he doesn't really go on tour. So this season, the way they adapted it is actually Lestat is going to go on tour. So we're going to get like a bunch of Lestat music,
Oh yeah.
but there's going to be like we're really getting get in the head of just cinematically like the chaos that is Lestat. So we know he's just like a chaotic person. So
Mm.
the way it's shot visually is very chaotic, and the transitions are it's going to feel like you can't tell where you're at timeline wise, just to capture the chaos of Lestat. And so he's pissed about the book, he's pissed
Mm.
about it happening. But something that's it's in the book, but I feel like they're teasing it out nicely, is that uh the boy that interviewed Louis is also the person that Armand made a vampire, right? So the way that the book comes out is one, it's clouded by the fact that um, uh, Daniel Malloy, the boy, wrote this
Yep.
book. And we know he has his, when someone writes a book, it doesn't matter how objective they want to be. So there's going to be some of them that are like bleeding through. So not only is Lestat pissed about this book, but when he like comes across, if you've seen like the trailers, like fans are reading this book and they're really into Armand.
Mm.
Armand seems, as per some of the readers, more of an interesting character than Lestat. So Lestat's not having that, and that's because the person that wrote it is someone that's in love with Armand. Do you know what I mean? So that clouds
Mm.
that version of the book. And on top of that, the reason, because I know it's different from the books, but that we've read, the when it gets released, also the Telemastica got their hands on it. So
Mm.
the book is also clouded by the way that it was published, is not necessarily how the author intended some of this to be released. Like some of it's not all I don't know if it's not the truth, or they're just trying to like the Telemastica is trying to use it to their device as well. So uh Daniel Malloy, the author, is not completely happy with the release of how the book is, but it's also a bestseller. Like everyone's reading it. So we have to keep in mind that like Lestat and Louis went through something so intimate and so painful, but Louis says some terrible things. And so they're both carrying like the hurt and mourning of partly being responsible for the death of their daughter, as well as
Right.
Armand. But it's not like they're dealing with it privately. It gets released out into the public. So we have to remember that, oh, you're not only saying this, you're making me look like a monster. I can't even process what has happened to our daughter. You want to talk about how you're mourning her? I can't even mourn her.
Mm.
Everyone has like something to say. There's no escaping anywhere in the world on this tour from someone's opinion about what our personal experiences were. And so I think there's like a layer of him being upset about that. And also, um, when we read even like the three of us, our experience of reading that first book, we know that like he didn't have like Louis kind of like a passive aggressive character.
Yeah.
So how would you feel if like the person that is supposed to be the love of your life is very passive aggressive, but someone interviews him and they are able to connect and say like so much more than they were ever willing to express to you
Mm.
in the interview. They're like, what's up with this guy? Why is this guy that you're connecting with what about me? So on this tour, it's also a documentary, so we're watching it through that lens, and the person that's doing the documentary is still the boy reader. It's still Daniel Malloy. Because he's like, oh no, you got to tell your story. I'm gonna get my rewrite, baby.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say what I have to say.
Now, in the series, is Daniel human?
He's a vampire, but he was he's an older man. I think he's like his character, the actor too, of course, but the character is allowed to age, so he's like in his 70s. And so what happened is they met once, kind of how we have met them in the books. But by the time we all read Queen of the Damned, we know that Daniel Malloy has like a drug problem. So they wrote that into the narrative. They wrote, you know what, the first time they had the interview, which is a book that we know, he was young. He didn't ask diddly squat, really. He did not put stock on anything. He wasn't a seasoned journalist. So the show is like, that still happened, but they didn't finish the interview. So then they have another interview, and by now, Daniel Malloy is in his 70s. He's a seasoned journalist, and he constantly pierces a narrative, and that whole time he's human. So Armand in the books in Queen of the Damned, he wanted Daniel Malloy to grow older, but he couldn't because Daniel was throwing away his life and with drugs and stuff, right? So he made him a vampire because he's kind of like, you're dying anyways, and I don't want to let you go. I think that same thing is happening. They just allowed him to age because that's also the desire of Armand in the book, is that he loves him so much he like lets him live. But I think it's still gonna hit the same point, and I also like it because we get such a more sparky, snarky push against Louis's self-loathing. Like he's always poking like his narrative in a way that the audience would. I don't think that if we got the book version of Daniel, I don't know if that would have worked because audiences are too smart now, right? They're going to be like, well, why isn't this journalist pushing back in some ways? And if it is an unreliable narrator with Louis. So yeah, he does turn into a vampire. Right now he is a vampire. We haven't seen his turning. And I think that's meant to be a surprise because the audience doesn't know about Queen of the Damned, like the Devil's Minion chapter. And so I think they're going to explore that in season 3 as well. I think they're kind of treating this whole show, they're treating like it's Gothic literature, they're love stories, but they're treating it like a crime scene almost in the way that they unfurl everything that like Gothic literature does. So there's just constantly like these emotional reveals about people's intentions that I feel like I'm watching a crime show. That's so horrible, but like you love the characters. And I think they're going to do that with Armand and Daniel because the people that have not read the books don't fully they don't know how unhinged us fans are about Daniel and Armand. And so I think that's going to come out more so in the 3rd season because now people are wondering, why did Armand turn Daniel? They didn't see it. We're aware that Armand turned Daniel. They just don't know the why, like what happened.
Okay, but so is Daniel going to be a 70-year-old human turned vampire?
Yes, he's a vampire now. He's 70 and a vampire.
Well, so I guess, that's like huge different from the book because Daniel was much younger. So that's going to be an interesting couple as a 17-year-old Armand with a 70-year-old Daniel.
Well, it's more like a 500-year-old Armand, right?
Well, yeah.
And Daniel would be
he still looks 17. Or he's supposed to. From what the little bit that I saw of the series, he looks more like he's in his 20s or that. He doesn't seem to be the teenager that Stuart, have you at all glanced at this TV series or are you still books?
I have not watched the TV series. I don't actually watch, and there's a lot of great series. I just don't watch them. I don't know why. I should definitely make a point to try to watch this one though, catch up if I could, but no, I haven't. But it's not unique to this. Like I say, I really haven't been watching series of any type. So
Well, and so and again, it comes down to that time factor and only so many hours, especially if you're reading and doing other things. We just finished watching Fringe, and we finally got to the end of it. I'd seen the series before, and it's funny how much you forget over time. So we just finished watching that, and because YouTube's been sending me this stuff about Grimm for some reason, and I'm like, oh wait, they're going to do a movie. So now we've started watching Grimm again. I think I've seen it twice already, and that's something and I'm actually watching more TV than I have in months, probably why I'm behind on YouTube. But with Grimm, it's kind of an interesting twist on the Grimms are the hunters, and then you've got all the fairy tale characters, and you've got your blue bots and this and that. But the Grimm is actually a police officer, which is why when you were saying it's like watching a crime show, because of course in all of this you've got the police, because the main character is a police officer, and then you've got all these other creatures that he's the only one that can see them, and they know it, but the other people in his department don't, except for the chief, who's actually using them, because he's also one of these, I think they call them Vessens. And so yeah, it gets interesting, let's just say that. But yeah, so back to Merrick and these characters. And I mean, again, we've got like a snippet that it ties in with Mayfair. Then we're learning a bit more about the Talamasca, and we don't really know where all their money came from over the years. Because, they're saying Merrick doesn't have to work, she'll get the best education. They have these houses that are all well stocked and food, nothing is an issue for them. So we don't really find out, or if we did, maybe I've missed it. You can let me know. Where did all this money come from? Because they're not like the vampires that have, money to invest over frickin' centuries in banks. Where do you think they got their money? The Talamasca.
As you were saying, I was wondering, like, some of them do have, I guess, various powers, right? Is it possible that some of them could like, if you had the power to predict the future, a thing you might want to do is look at the stock market, right?
Yeah.
Like say, like by, when Microsoft starts as a company, you can see that it's going to be coming. Now, like their history is before that, perhaps, but
yeah.
I just wonder if like they could see like, even like, earlier times, business trends that you could like hop on, that you could make money from. And that's possibly where it could have, or else they had some rich benefactors. And there is like, one other thing I'm wondering as I read, like, the Talamasca, their charters just to watch things. Now, I forget in one of the books they did more than watch, but like, I don't think one of the Vampire Chronicles, but like, why is that their charter? Why isn't there, with the resources they have some people like, say, Merrick, who's a powerful witch. Why do they just watch? Like, I don't know if any of the later books, talk about that, but yeah, why, how did they start? Where did they get their money? Why is that their charter? Why don't they intervene in things? The only thing I can recall in one of the books, there was a couple of people that like in their own order crossed them and then they end up killing. But like why, I haven't like, I certainly haven't read all Anne Rice's books, but like, I don't know if anybody here, Elena Leslie knows, like, did they ever in later books give the total history of the Talamasca? Because these are interesting questions.
Go ahead, Dusty.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I haven't read all the Chronicles yet. Like some of these books, we're kind of starting to get into territory of books I haven't read. Although I've read Blackwood Farms, so I also haven't read the Mayfair books. So I think the Talamasca's maybe more in there, and I don't know if they ever answer it. I kind of like the quality of not having all the answers, so we can have these kind of conversations. The Talamasca is an organization because they watch. I feel like they really value knowledge and literature. So I wonder if they maybe they sell like rare books or rare art. If they have access to it, and that can help fund them. That might be a thing. Or maybe if they're like a little bit more nefarious, since they do have powers, they could always sell things on the black market. And as far as not interfering, I think that might, again, because I think they value knowledge so much. I don't know what ends or what purpose, but I do think that maybe they've learned over time, and as we're experiencing, is that when the Talamasca interfere, it always goes awry, right? We have this character, Talbot, that he interfered, so now he's a vampire. Like, interfering with the supernatural, like making yourself known, probably has a negative consequence to their own Talamasca members, so whether they end up dead or turned into a vampire or become under a witch's spell, those are all reasons to not interfere. That I could think of, at least at the moment.
See, and I've read the Mayfair Witches, and I think it's in Taltos. It's been a few years, but I think Taltos answers some of those questions. I don't think it answers all of them, but because of how old the Taltos creatures are, and the one character, I think is his name Ashley or Ashton. Anyway, he's going to come up in Blood Canticles. And because he's, can't remember how old he is, but he knows a lot about the Talamasca. And I know when they were with the Mayfair Witches, they were just to observe and stay at a distance, and definitely not let the witches know that they were anywhere near them, which is interesting because of David's relationship and Aaron's with Merrick Mayfair. And yet they've been watching the Mayfair Witches for 4 centuries. So now I'm trying to wrap my head around, well, if you wanted to know about the Mayfair Witches that much, why didn't you just ask Merrick? She's related to them, and she's been in the Talamasca for decades. Granted, not centuries, but if anyone knew the who's who in the zoo, so to say, it would have been Merrick. But then Aaron ends up going to observe, and then the different events happen with Rowan and Michael and all kinds of other characters. And then Aaron ends up marrying one of the Mayfairs. Whoops, definitely more than just watching. But, and he sends all his written work to the chapter house or whatever they called their, main places. And then Aaron ends up getting offed. And if I remember correctly, it's by the Talamasca. So again, you've got humans in this group who have that. And I agree. I think it's about knowledge and record keeping and history, but humans be humans. So you get a few nut jobs in the pack and things go awry because they don't follow the rules. And I don't mean Aaron and that situation, there are some others who do some pretty shady things. And I can't remember if it was for money or why they fell off the rails, but they fell off the rails big time. And of course, the Telemasca keeps an eye on each other type of thing, right? So things really get messed up. I don't think it's so much like that prime directive of Star Trek where you don't interfere with the evolution of things, because these creatures and beings the Telemasca watch are like way older and stronger than the humans watching them. So there is, of course, that question of, yeah, where did the Telemasca come from? And then we've got these elusive elders, whoever they are, because there are people when David was in the Telemasca and Aaron, and David had a pretty high position, but there were people even above him that he had to ask permission or things went to. But who are these elusive elders? Like, I agree with Stuart. There's so many why unanswered questions about this group, not just how did they get money and become so powerful, but like, where did they even start and why was their focus on observing these other creatures when some of them had their own abilities?
I have no answer.
Right? It's almost like, and just as I was talking, I was thinking, and because they started in Britain, which is where the first group for psychic research began. So I don't know if that is Anne Rice's kind of commentary on the people who started that, and then there was a group in the States afterwards, William James. But to me, the more I read it, and maybe it's because now we know about Anne and her choices about returning to a certain faith, the more I'm reading these books, the more it's like she's trying to work out and decide about her own spirituality and religious choices.
Yeah, and then I think because of that, sometimes that's where the inconsistency comes from, because her opinion of the moment kind of sways the character in the narrative.
Yeah, because, and I haven't really looked into it, and I know Kat's mentioned somewhere, and I don't know which book it is, where she decided to go back to spirituality or to a religious path. And for a while, she was saying she really regretted writing all these books and she should have never published them. And then the Vampire Chronicle series continues. So she obviously changed her mind, because aren't the Atlantis ones from like not long before she passed? I can't remember when she passed or when those were published, but she obviously somewhere changed her mind about what she was putting out there, what her religious path was. And I don't know if she stayed religious until she died or whether she swayed from that path again, but it really seems to be playing out with some of these characters. See, this is where Kat coming on would be handy, because she could just answer this instead of type it.
Yeah, Anne Rice, she died in December 11th, 2021.
Okay. Not that long ago.
Yeah, really not that long ago at all. I'm sorry, what was the question? My cat ran because the postman was here.
No, that's okay. And I'm just wondering when she last published some of the Vampire Chronicles books, like Lestat and Atlantis and all of that, which I haven't, those are two I definitely haven't read. And I haven't read Blood Canticle ever. I did read Blackwood Farm. I'm looking forward to visiting Quentin again. I liked him.
Prince Lestat and the Realms of Atlantis came out on November 29th, 2016.
So that, yeah, that likely then is after she went back to being all religious. Because somewhere she had to start, and I can't remember where it was, and I almost laughed because I was shopping one of those times I was still working, had more money, so I was at Indigo. And these people were going on about Anne Rice and wasn't it good that she said, all her work was crap. And I'm like, what now? And it was a while after that I found out she'd gone all religious and was poo-pooing her work. But I mean, if you read some of this other work, and I know there's two versions of Blood and Gold, because Kat was saying the one with Armin's story, no, Marius's story, Blood and Gold, there's one like uber detailed, spicy version out there. Then there's the version that I read. So I don't know if that was publishers changing their mind, if that was Anne Rice changing her mind. But it still blows my mind how she has never made it on the banned book list.
Yeah, I don't know. That just sounds insane. But ultimately we also have to think about the books that do get banned and why. I mean, oh my God,
Yeah,
where do I start?
But she hits all the markers in terms of homosexual relationships, adults with kids, a lot of SA, a lot of that type of thing. And when I was looking into the banned books, those sexual choices were a big part of a ton of the books that got banned.
I
Not
wonder,
that the people ever read the books, but
also the books that we're reading, I almost feel like they're coming from the POV. No, not completely. That's not completely true. Of predators against their prey, as where the books that do get banned, I feel are still within, like, this is Gothic literature. The ones that do get banned, I feel like more like in the social justice realm, even if they're fiction or memoir, and they're and sometimes they're just like public health type books, and they get banned. I don't know.
no,
Maybe
Stephen King's got 70 of his books banned and more.
crazy. That's all. That's also, what's so wild? I'm gonna go off on a tangent. Is learning that like a lot of those books that he wrote, it's just because he was on drugs.
Some of them were, some of them he doesn't even remember writing. But even some of his newer books, since he cleaned up, are on there. See, and so Kat saying Blood Canticle, 2010s. Okay, that's what you had looked at. Blood Canticle was a return. Now, Blood Canticle is the tie-in with Mayfair Witches again. So now I'm really curious what happens there, but I got to revisit Quinn in Blackwood Farms first because I almost hopped to Blood Canticle. And sorry for cutting you off there, Leslie. I almost hopped to Blood Canticle, but I promised myself I'd read the books in order this time. So I got to read Quinn first.
Yeah, I'm excited to read Quinn again because I do remember I like Blackwood Farms when I did read it. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. And I also don't remember the ending, which I know we've talked about Blackwood Farms, and I don't remember what happened to Quinn. So I look forward to that one.
Mm-hmm. Me too, because I've jumped ahead and read Prince Lestat a couple years ago. So I know Quinn doesn't show up there, which really pissed me off because I liked him. And so I'm hoping that somewhere between, well, obviously after Blackwood Farms, but so somewhere from Blood Canticle to Prince Lestat, I hope we do find some closure with Quinn. But sorry, Leslie, I cut you off when you were talking about the banned books and with the Stephen King. So go ahead with that.
No, I was just completely going off on a tangent. I'm going to go off on another one.
That's okay. That's what we do here.
I was thinking about the character of Merrick and like her background, because I know you're talking about how there's voodoo and like there's just another fact of Merrick that we're learning about as far as like also culturally, right? And so I wonder, I don't know the answer to this, but I know that Anne Rice loves her fans so much, and she said that when Queen of the Damned, the movie came out, although like not definitely not like a great movie, she just had so many fans come up to her that also happened to be Black and said, like, I'm so glad this film got made because I don't see a lot of myself in like these kind of characters like vampires. And so like so many people love Akasha, like the adaptation of Akasha.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that influenced her choice because she also loves history a lot, right? And Rice loves history and discussing all like the things that go on. And I wonder if that um those kind of like positive comments, I wonder if that influenced her creating Merrick specifically like years later. I mean, it's like so many books later, but if I wonder if that was on her mind as far as some people feeling like they weren't represented. And also, it is New Orleans. New Orleans, like a multicultural place. There's like a Creole community, and so I wonder if she just also wanted to capture that through Merrick in some ways. This is more of a question I have because I don't know the answer.
Well, that's a good point, though, and like you were saying, because there are so many different communities in history to New Orleans and all of that, and the thing with voodoo, which is a different path from the rest of the Mayfair witches, but they all have these different powers. Although the Mayfair witches, other than the first two, the rest of them just seem to have the name Mayfair. There's very few of them that actually practiced anything that would even be close to witchcraft. Maybe a few of the earlier ones when they still had plantations and things, but not many after that point. They were just kind of, they weren't doing spells. Some of them had various abilities like being able to foresee the future or that type of thing. So yeah, that's an interesting point with Merrick. And I mean, even that whole thing of a vampire wondering about if a ghost is real. And that's really part of this thing with the story of Merrick as well as, and then we've got Merrick who's loves her, is it rum that she's forever drinking? And I mean, they all seem to be fine with that, right? She can get like totally poo-faced for days and everyone just lets her do her thing because she's so brilliant at everything else. And it's funny, it's almost for a minute there, it'd be like a Stephen King book because like you were saying, Leslie, like he's had his issues with drugs and alcohol numerous times throughout his life. But everyone calls him an author, not an addict, yet he's both.
Do you think that Merrick does that as a coping mechanism for her powers?
It almost seems like it because I'm trying to think if she sees things. And then, the way she sets up the altar and all the different things that they have to do to make the rituals and spells work. And yeah, it's almost, and then there's those old photos that she was, weren't they made of metal? I can't think of the names of them now, but she had that, whether it was a box or a case of all the old relatives. And I mean, Aaron and David were uber excited because again, history and they collect so many things in the Talamasca. But I think with Merrick, part of the alcohol is her coping mechanism of how to deal with all this stuff going on. Even though she's in the Talamasca, she almost doesn't seem to feel like she fits or belongs there. She's very different than they are, both in her appearance, in her dress, in how she does things, how she behaves. But yet she feels, I guess, gratitude to them because she doesn't really seem to have anybody else to hang around with.
Yeah, it's all they have, all she has. Yeah. That's
because
sad.
Even the Mayfairs, well, exactly, because even the ones who have her name, she doesn't feel connected to them either. They live entirely different lives, and their hoity-toity part of New Orleans, and she lives in an entirely different section. And
Mm.
even when she starts getting all this money through the Talamasca and that, instead of moving her grandmother who raised her, they just fix up the house and buy a few more properties, even though the area around them is falling down all over the place.
How did they write it in the book? I think she said, I think David Talbot says, Merrick says something like she goes to the moon. Is it to the moon when she gets drunk?
I can't remember.
It was something really early on, and I wrote it down. I don't have my note with me, but I actually chuckled out loud that how she references her getting skunk drunk was kind of silly to me.
Well, and that's it. And I mean, it's not even like she's having a glass or two of rum. Like she goes through bottles of the stuff. Stuart, what are your thoughts about Merrick and her drinking habits or reasons?
One thing I was thinking, I didn't realize until what Leslie was saying is made me think that as a child, Merrick didn't really have any childhood friends.
Mm.
She had a grandmother, and then she's just going with a bunch of adults. I mean, you know, I didn't even think of it till now, but she didn't have friends like you're supposed to have as a child.
Yep.
Also couldn't help thinking, I wonder, is it a good idea for a powerful witch to be drunk? You know, it's almost like, it's almost like as I'm thinking, like, would that like lower her inhibitions so that she would like do something maybe she wouldn't have done otherwise? But possibly the alcohol does suppress the abilities too.
No, actually, you've got a good point there, Stuart. Yeah, if she's totally poo faced and and from what we understand, she's very powerful, you know, is it just luck that she never went off the deep end and did something to somebody? You know, when she was on one of her drinking things. So yeah, go ahead, Stuart. Sorry, I just wanted to add that about, yeah, maybe it didn't, maybe all it suppressed was her thoughts, but did it suppress her power?
Yeah, and it's also interesting too that as you're saying that guys are saying that like everyone seems to be okay that she's just getting like really, like, say, it's not just a glass. It's not just
Yeah.
like somebody has a couple glasses of wine on Saturday night to relax themselves. It's like
Yeah.
getting totally blotted out. It's just and they're kind of okay with that. I didn't think until this discussion about like how maybe she's how why she would be lonely. She didn't have any childhood friends. Um, there's probably mostly like white people in the Talamasca, so she doesn't have people of her race. Um, she has David, but like even at that time, he was a lot older, even though they had a relationship. But is she, despite her powers, is she just really lonely, and she just has to, you know, like a lot of people would in that situation. I guess that's the reason for, indulging and self-medicating and stuff. Is she really underneath kind of just like a sad person? Um, I don't know. I didn't think of these things related to her. I should have. Like, did she, no childhood friends, just like a bunch of adults in Talamasca, and even then, when she's an adult, they're maybe not like, different. Like she's black and they're not. Maybe they can't identify with her like they should. We don't know that, but like, they didn't. It would have been nice if they touched on why she was maybe drinking like that. What was she trying to? I mean, you can get addicted. Just you get addicted to it, but like, was she trying to blot out not her powers, but maybe the fact that she's lonely?
Yeah, that's a great point because also these guardians aren't really healthy for her because what happened like in her 20s. That's kind of like a bit of a reveal in a way that her and uh, David Talbot slept together at some point in her
Oh,
20s.
they were going out. She convinced him to go on some dig or something, wasn't it?
Yes, yes,
And again, she played him. Oh, that's when she was looking for, there were things she wanted, relics,
yeah.
and they had to go into that cave way out in wherever. And yeah, dude wasn't young, but she got him out there anyhow. And then she got him.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then they went, yeah, like she's been playing him from the get go.
But I also wonder, because of what Stuart says, just like the interiority of her character, of if that comes from like that's all that she has, and also kind of an extension of that loneliness is like if you have all those powers and you're kind of used like this vessel all the time, you probably can't make normal connections with every day-to-day people, right?
Yeah, well, and again, so then, yeah, there's that mask in the cave. I'd forgotten about that. Well, there's so much to this book between the relationships and healthy, unhealthy. But yeah, they go to that cave and then they put on that mask. And David knows that mask shouldn't have left the cave, but he lets her take it anyways.
Yeah, the Talamasca, they say that they're not going to interfere, but they clearly do.
Yeah, because he knew that mask shouldn't have left. There were all kinds of warnings. And yet it's that mask that comes up when she gets in touch with Claudia. And that's when we find out more about her own family, which is kind of funny. The names, instead of just first names, we find out about her mother and the sister, and that basically Merrick was only alive because she got left with the grandmother. The mother just took the other daughter. Right? And the mother and daughter were killed like days after they left.
Yeah.
Cold, what was it? Cold Susan and Honey.
Yeah.
I was going to say Honey in the Well, but that is not right. But I know she was Honey something.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't think of her name, but yeah. And that was another thing is, what do you, because since we're on this subject, what do you think about like the nature of like spirits and ghosts in the story? Because it seems like it's a little bit of an unreliable entity that she's tapping into, like that we can't be completely sure who's coming through. Like, is it really Honey or is it really Claudia? It seems like there's these other creatures like vampires that Anne Rice has such a grasp on and has defined in this series, and then like in Mayfair's it's the witches, but it seems like when it comes to ghosts, she hasn't like completely defined like their existence, or that's something that I don't know if it's she wants the world to not have a grasp on it, or is it something that Anne Rice was grappling with?
Stuart?
I agree with that. I was uncertain, like the ghost, who it really was, whether, and even if it was, whether the ghost was being honest or whatever. I guess even if it was really a ghost, I suppose. But yeah, it was like I don't find like the way totally trustworthy that the what was being said or whatever, and it was written that way. But yeah, I didn't find that. I was like uncertain whether what was being said was true. It was, whether it was Claudia or whatever. It was like, it was written so that it wasn't clear to me that we could really trust what was being said or even who was saying it.
Yeah, see, and I'm wondering if this ties in with her own belief system. Because I know there are some people who are very religious, and to them, any ghost is a demon, like can't be trusted, shouldn't be talking to them. And I wonder if maybe writing Claudia and Honey the way that she did, because like Kat said, Blood Canonical was when she came back from the religious books. Right now we're at Merrick, so she's just maybe on that cusp. And so then to her, any ghost would be untrustworthy and evil. So it isn't just that, Merrick is trying to work through her own issues and deal with things with Honey, but it's like, don't trust any of the ghosts. Like, you shouldn't. Meanwhile, we have vampires going around killing people, you know what I mean? But the ghost, she really doesn't seem to write in a favorable or getting closure type of light, other than Merrick knows that her mom and sister didn't come back for her because they were dead. But then that brings up the question of, how did Merrick and her grandmother not know that sooner? Right? Because they were both tapped into a whole lot of things going on around them. Or did the grandmother know and just never told Merrick? Which doesn't make sense, because, did she think it was better for Merrick to just think they were happy somewhere else without her? Did the grandmother know? That's the other thing, that, yeah, if she's so powerful and she can figure all these things out and foresee into certain things, how didn't she foresee what was going to happen with her sister and mom that day?
Maybe she can't see everything.
Well, it's almost like a fluke Merrick survived, right? Because she desperately wanted to be with her mom, seemed to have feelings for her, but for whatever reason, the mom didn't seem to feel the same way about her. Or she would have taken both daughters.
Yeah. I looked it up. The character Honey is Honey in the Sunshine, Honey Isabella, and there's Cold Sandra, which you mentioned.
Okay, yeah, Honey in the Sunshine. And again, that's funny because instead of just calling them by their names, they have these descriptions. Whereas David's just David, not David the perv, David looking at me the wrong way. It's just David. But it's Honey in the Sunshine and Cold Sandra. What's going on there? And I mean, Aaron, and she mentions Aaron, and Aaron is as important to her as David because, they both convinced her to stay and helped her out and get adjusted in the Talamasca. But then after that sleep together and the mask, they kind of went their separate ways. And I can't remember now whose choice that was. And I think it was almost hers. It was almost like, okay, thought about it, did it. Oh, that was a bad choice. All right, well, I'm just going to get on with my life now. And you go back to doing your Talamasca things and I'll do mine. And he stays away from her. And then suddenly makes the connection again, but not because he wants to talk to her. He does it because of Louis. Because Louis wants to be in touch with Claudia because he's feeling left out. Everyone else has had a chance to hear this music or have a connection with Claudia, and yet he's desperate to get closure. And then that whole boondoggle ritual happens where yeah, Claudia wasn't forgiving him for anything, but then it turns out it wasn't Claudia at all.
I think that's up for like um discussion. I think because even Merrick is kind of, because Merrick and David kind of give their own opinions of what they think is going on,
Mm.
and then I kind of feel like we're meant to kind of like figure out what we think about that. But I also wanted to ask you, before Merrick agrees to reach out to like Claudia,
Mm.
Merrick does prepare Louis by saying, okay, if you really want to do this, you need to know some things. I can't remember if it was Merrick or David. Um, but just saying like, you need to know some things about Claudia, and the truth is in her diary.
Mm.
Paint your picture and Interview the Vampire, like you guys love each other so much. You're just like so tight. You love each other. You're everything to each other.
Yeah.
But actually, she didn't feel that way. She could have gone either way. She was just trying to figure out which one was going to be the one that she could possibly manipulate into leaving, because she was just trying to break Louis and Lestat up because they're so toxic anyways, and she
Yeah.
wanted to escape in some way, but she couldn't. She's too dependent. They made someone, unfortunately, that was going to be in a constant state of dependency, and so she had to choose one of them, and she just thought Louis would be the one that she could manage more. What do you guys think about that revelation?
Go ahead, Stuart.
Yeah, that was the fact that like Louis kind of still wanted to go forward after that revelation is definitely interesting, because most people, if they heard something like that, it would be kind of maybe like, I'm not really interested in this person anymore. So that's kind of interesting from that aspect. The fact that he has such devotion for somebody who there wasn't really shipped. Now she was changed when she was a young child, but still had a lot of experience, and she's not like, she's really just kind of, in some ways, she's the most cunning of the three of them, because she's like just deciding, well, which of these two, I don't want them together. Which of these two do I have the best chance of, I guess, easier to manipulate, and I guess she chose Louis. And there is one other thing, just if I could go back a little bit, this made me think of, is like, as far as like Anne Rice's return to her Christianity. I'm not sure if she became a Catholic again or another type of Christianity, but like in what she thought of, like a lot of Christians will think ghosts are demons, evil demons, but also a lot of Christians don't think much of witches. They think of them also as evil. Yeah, the title character is a witch in this book, so it makes me wonder: was there a conflict? Was Anne Rice working through something there? Was there a conflict there? I know I took the discussion back a little bit, but
that's okay.
It just made me curious, because yes, ghosts may be considered demons, but witches are considered evil too. Your main character is a witch, and also voodoo, of course, is we considered like a an evil religion, right? Because it's not Christianity. So your main character is voodoo. So I just couldn't help thinking that, like, what is she trying to work through something with her, like a portrayal of witches too? I don't know. I just couldn't help thinking that. Just curious, wondering. We won't be able to really say, but it's only speculation. But it does make me wonder.
Yeah, and I mean, don't worry about going backwards with the conversation, Stuart. Here we go all over the place, backwards, forwards, and round we go. But I mean, to me, that's the beauty of being able to do things like this, especially live. And I mean, you've said it, and I know I've said it myself. Leslie, you may have said it, is when we're having these discussions, it's one thing when we're reading the book and different questions that come up as we're doing it. But then as we're here live sharing our thoughts and opinions, we're like, oh, yeah, I didn't think of that until I just, so to me, that's the awesome part of not just finding a great book, but being able to have these types of discussions, which Yeah, you're right, Stuart. Some of them will never be able to answer because one, Anne Rice is gone. And two, I think maybe that's just part of some of these stories we read is maybe we're not meant to answer them. It's just to get us thinking and, maybe asking questions about our own viewpoints in terms of what are ghosts and what do we think about them and, you know, all that type of thing. Because you brought up an excellent point is maybe these books aren't just Anne Rice working out what she thinks about ghosts or what she thinks about, vampires or relationships in general. But yeah, for sure, when it comes to, and I'm not sure which path she went back to, but yeah, witches are typically never seen as a good thing, regardless of the various paths, unless it's witchcraft. It still tends to boggle my brain and a lot of this paranormal stuff. Why witches are there when it's a spiritual path, but you never hear about the bad Christians or Catholics. That's like taboo. But you go hang around a house where a supposed witch lived, but you don't go hang around a house where the pervy Christian lived doing things with children. Do you know what I mean? Like they're
burning your house down.
Yeah, well, and there's still, here we are in the 21st century, that bit of stigma in between the two, right? One seems to be, it's okay for people to talk about it and in the negative, but the other one, well, no, let's just keep that quiet because you don't want that one in the pulpit having a hard day. It's like, come on. And I'm not saying there should be, paranormal videos with, hey, I went to this Christian perv's house and here's the ghosts I caught, because that wouldn't get views. You got to use the big W to stay popular.
Yeah.
But
crazy.
Yeah. Stuart, did you have anything else you wanted to add to Leslie's question?
Nothing more I could think of. Although, what you just said, Elaine, does make some good points about how some things are just because they're like above reproach, where say other things are like just by the name of it is considered bad. And people don't like recognize like witchcraft is practiced is like has nothing to do. It's totally different from Christianity. It's totally different from their beliefs. So, but anyway, but no, I can't think of anything else to add.
Okay. Now we went sideways and that's fine. But okay, so Leslie, what were you asking?
I don't remember anymore.
I know, see, and the same with me, but that's fine. We'll loop back to it if I had a point to add, because I mean, that's the beauty of this too, right? Is again, we can chit chat about all kinds of things, and it's not like it's an English exam where we got to cover the main themes or what have you.
Yeah, I really like what Kat sang in the chat, by the way.
What's that?
I like what Kat, our ginger bibliophile, sang in the chat over here.
The whichever group?
Yeah, they're saying about voodoo, evil, but they pray to a spirit that performs miracles for them. So yeah, there's like hypocrisy that takes place,
Yeah, and well, and again, that ties in with, and there are exceptions, but the other is all of them, because this one. And then whichever group these are part of, bad ones are exceptions to the rule. Any group they aren't part of, judged by its single worst member. And I mean, that's the other is, and I had just actually asked Kat, she's not feeling very well today, so that's why she hasn't popped on with the chat, and she's in the comment section with us. So feel better soon, Kat. But I mean, that's the other is and it doesn't matter what group it is, it's always the worst ones you hear about. Like there are a lot of incredible Christians, a lot of loving and helpful Catholics, but those aren't the ones that make the news. And, same with witchcraft. There are a lot who are solely focused on the earth and their personal path and helping people, but they're not the ones that are ever going to make the news. And yeah, I think reading this series, I don't know if it's because we've been talking about Rice and where she was going with her personal beliefs, but there are just a lot of things really standing out this go around that I don't think, if not for our discussions, would have stood out as much. And certainly not if I was just reading this by myself. Whether it's different points that have come up in the series or just different points that each of you have shared, either in our Voxer chat or in our live chats. It's like, oh, yeah. Like the thing with David. I mean, it kind of stood out for me with David that interested in a young girl. But then I completely forgot, wait a minute, dude likes dudes. So why is this girl even sparking an interest?
Yeah.
Or was this before he realized he liked dudes? Well, and you can't see me doing the hand gestures. Damn it! I'm doing that, my hands up, questioning, but you can't see me do it. It's like, wait, oh yeah, they can't see me. Thank you.
You tell me what I should do, and then I'll do that emoji, okay?
I appreciate that, because yeah, I talk with my hands, and it ain't happening this live stream. Well, I'm still moving them, but no one can see them. But I mean, there's the other question. So when does... This was long before he knew Lestat. I'm thinking, see, timelines, right? Yeah. Like this had to be decades before Interview.
And also, it seems like her characters, it's not like, correct me if I'm wrong, it's not like the characters actually come out and say, like, define their sexual identity. I think she just writes the characters as like they're all fluid. I have heard her say in an interview, I don't know if it's an interview or an article, but basically, like, unless the character says it they're out loud, like directly that they're straight, they're just not. You know what I mean? And none of her characters ever say that none of them go like, "Hey, I'm straight." So they're just not. I think they're all kind of like fluid sexually in her world. I kind of think maybe that's part of it. But yeah, like Louis seems to be, he's like Lestat's his man. And then it's Lestat, Louis, and David. So then like Lestat basically has these two quasi husbands, and then he's still lonely. And then so now we're coming around to in this book Merrick, but I did feel like that was a bit suspect, and that's why I felt Louis was under spell, because I don't think he's ever really been interested in, we're seeing him being in something with Merrick, right? That he's caught up in love with her. And also, when does Louis ever say that he loves someone? He really doesn't. And so I feel like that's a tip off that it's not real either. Louis is too passive aggressive. If he loves someone, he's going to say he can't stand them. Lestat, aka Lestat.
Oh, see, now there's a good point I hadn't thought. Does Louis not ever say it to anyone?
I feel like he very poetically says that he loves Lestat at the end of Any Vampire, but he doesn't actually use the words "I love you." He says something like, "Because I felt it was like a really beautiful line." He goes, "I feel anything or everything but hate for Lestat, this gay vampire." Like he very much calls Lestat a gay vampire. But I felt like that was his way of saying that by the end of Interview with the Vampire, saying that he loves Lestat, and that's supposed to be your takeaway. That every single "I hate you" in Interview with the Vampire is really an "I love you" from Louis, because he's never going to say it. Except in this book, Merrick, I think he does say, I love Merrick, but I felt like that was a tip off. Like bro, you're under a spell.
Yes, because doesn't she do the boom chicka wawa with Louis?
The thing is, the characters don't actually. I mean, actually, in Vampire Armand is like the exception. Like the drinking blood is erotic. They never really say that anything actually explicit happened between them. But like drinking from each other is like the erotic act. And if
Yeah.
you get to Lestat, when Lestat's helping out, what's her name, with her
Bianca?
with Tom, her that time of the month.
Oh, Dora. I still can't believe what that was all about. Like, oh, grossness. Why that even had to be a thing. And again, it made absolutely no sense with Dora being the type of individual she was. Like, really, we're supposed to believe she's just going to calmly stand there while that happens?
Yeah.
Somehow that didn't track. It's like, lady, there's no way a woman would just stand there and not lose her mind.
Yeah.
Ugh, I forgot all about that scene. Thanks, Leslie. Now I'm glad you can't see my face of ugh.
and then the Vampire Armand. That's why I felt like it was weird, because I think in some ways she's establishing that like the experience of drinking blood is so erotic, they don't really have the need for the other thing. But then we have something like that, or then we go on and we read the Vampire Armand. When Marius is clearly he's doing some things. So I'm like, well, okay, when did she decide to throw that away? Because I thought it was just like the drinking of the blood was erotic enough that they were not interested in human sexual acts. So I don't know. She just decided to throw that out the window and do whatever she wanted her to do.
Well, Kat's got a theory. Be spicier, but the blood ain't flowing properly. I mean, I don't know. I don't think there's Viagra for that for the vamps, but you know,
what's your take?
Yeah. Well, maybe part of it was she couldn't decide what vampire, what's the word you use, schmexy would look like. Right? So she kind of semi-describes it like a human physical situation, certainly with Marius and Armand in some of those scenes. But then it's almost like, I mean, when Marius and Armand are with Bianca, there are things happening, but neither one of them do the deed.
Yeah.
And yet she's all flushed and happy as a clam can be.
Yeah.
So it's almost like through the different books, she's trying to decide what does an erotic relationship with a vampire look like.
Yeah.
In each book, there seems to be subtle differences. Because in some of them, the description is almost like there's a complete physical situation going on. But in others, like you said, it's the whole drinking of the blood is like the big hoo-ha of finished.
Yeah.
Stuart,
let's get Stuart's thoughts.
Yeah, it's I think, like you said, the situation with Marius. Now the my memory is a little hazy. That one situation in Tell the Body Thief where there was a consent issue with the start, was that when he was when he was in the human body at that time? So this vampire, the thought of vampires doesn't apply.
Say that again, Stuart.
It was like in I think it was Tell the Body Thief where there was like the situation with consent with Lestat, and he didn't get consent, but he did the act. But I can't remember. I'm thinking maybe he was human then. So the Okay, so this
Oh, okay.
the thought of vampires doesn't apply, but yeah, but like with Marius, not only did he appear to need to do that, but he did it with an underage. Well, you wouldn't say underage at that time, but he was underage child. So yeah, it is inconsistent there. I don't know. It seems like the more we talk, the more we see Anne Rice is searching for a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And when you take them as a whole, if you read the books as they came out, then chances are, unless you had a great memory, you're not going to remember, those kind of details maybe from previous book. But the way we're reading them
Yep.
in short succession, then that's. But even then, I didn't remember. Like I didn't, as you guys talked, I remembered. Yes, David Talley was interested in, he's attracted to men, but I didn't remember that, or boys. I didn't remember that until it was discussed here. And that book I read a short time ago. So,
And that's an excellent point, Stuart, is because these books were published years apart. And so, of course, to read the whole series would have taken you a decade plus. You're right. Things wouldn't, because you'd be reading other things and thinking about other things. But because we're reading them relatively close together, back to back, and our discussions, yeah, a lot of this stuff is sticking out that we would have missed otherwise, I'm thinking. So, yeah, that's an excellent point. And I did read Pandora. It's a little side note book. It's not a chunky monkey like some of the other ones. But yeah, and Kat shared here. And you are right, Kat. There is a scene in Pandora because Pandora and Marius are, well, Marius is just a little bit older, like not even maybe decades older than Pandora, because Marius turned Pandora. And it's shortly after he turns her. But yeah, Marius can't get it to work. So Pandora wants to get jiggy with it, but dude can't get it up because now he's a vampire. And that was back when they were first became vampires and young. So then, yeah, it makes it really interesting. What's he doing with Armand? So do things change and work different as they get older, along with their strength and everything else? Because the longer they live, the more powerful they become, the more skills and different things they have. But yeah, when they were first turned, so thanks for mentioning that, Kat. I forgot. Pandora's like, what do you mean you can't do it? Like I waited how many years to meet you again, and now what? Nothing? We're just vampires? This ain't gonna work, dude. Because they were never physical when they were humans. And again, recurring theme. Marius met her when she was a kid and was interested in her and asked to be betrothed to her. What is it with these old dudes liking on young girls and boys? So it's not just David. Marius is the same. And again, same as David. First, Marius all about Pandora. Then, after, I think they were together for centuries. After Pandora says, no, I've had enough of this, then suddenly Marius likes guys. It's like, can you people not make up your freaking mind? Like, this is like being in high school again, watching the King's kids swing back and forth over the 4 years. It's like, wow. Leslie?
I just think that it's just like being warped by time. Like, if you lived all these years, I just feel like sexuality wouldn't even matter anymore. If you live 500 years,
True.
I think you would kind of look at society and like the hangups they have about defining identity, and you're just so far removed from humanity that, or experience so much. You're just like, I'm just attracted to like the vessel. Like, and you've been through so much in life. I think that would just kind of fall away over time as far as like sexual identity would go.
That's a good point. Stuart?
That does make sense. Yeah. Like yeah, you grow more and more distant from humans and whatever. And it does explain too why in the which I haven't read Pandora, but why shortly after turning the vampires there may still be interest there, but after a time there wouldn't be. But of course, then Marius does in fact have that interest, but it does make sense that they would you would become like I don't know, is you remove from your humanity the hang-ups and things of humanity would no longer be of concerns of yours.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I mean, you're right as well, Stuart, is Marius definitely has a huge interest in Armand, but is it just physical as in Armand's appearance? Was it the cry for help and Marius needs to be needed? I mean, look at all the years he took care of Akasha and Leo. As much as he hated it, he also enjoyed it because he was the guy, right? Like he was the one taking care of them. Marius has this I need you to need me complex that's developed over 2 millennia. Because it was the same with Pandora. He just wanted to be with her because he'd adored her as a human. He was excited to have her with him as a vampire. But Pandora was not, oh, please take care of me. She's like, dude, I'm your equal. Like, figure it out. And that was a lot of their big clashes and arguments together. But even with Armand, he wanted to take care of Armand rather than tell Armand where he came from and, put together your past and all of that type of stuff. He wanted Armand reliant on him. Somehow he let Lestat go, which was shocking. Of, yeah, go to New Orleans, take care of your dad instead of stay here with me. But yeah, I mean, these characters, you could spend hours on each one of them just psychoanalyzing them, going, dude, what the hell? Like, between the, and yeah, I mean, maybe that's it too, is even though I've got 6 decades to look at things, it's not 6 centuries or 2 millennia. So, trying to process what is it they're seeing or thinking about when they look at an individual, is do they see past that male, female, and are just looking at the experience and what that person has to offer overall. Yeah, and Cat, they live centuries, get bored, and gotta experiment. Yeah, and details get blurry, even close together. Armin's supposed to be beautiful, basically a damsel in distress that Marius got to save. And I mean, we talked a bit about that, and yet in this story, we have Merrick, who's another independent woman, granted with the booze, but she's very much her own person. She definitely plays Louis and David till the end. That last ritual where things like literally blew apart, including the mask. So that was a one-time deal. But then she got what she wanted all along, which was to be immortal. What do you think about the ending of the book?
I'll let Stuart go first.
Did you see it coming? Did you think she had it planned all along, or do you think it just came to her partway through meeting David or meeting Louis?
I guess I would say that like it maybe came to her partway through, but that might be a naive way of me thinking. It might have just been because it seemed like, I don't know, it didn't seem like there was like that kind of interest. It almost like, I guess it was kind of a, I mean, I shouldn't be surprised because like in Anne Rice's books, all the human characters the main ones seem to get turned, but it's like, I guess like, I don't know if I expected her to be turned, I guess because she was in her own right, she's a powerful being and all. So I guess for me, that it did take it a little bit by surprise. I guess like, I don't like assume like necessarily characters are being manipulative, So it's like when it turns out that they are, that becomes a surprise to me. That's just kind of like, despite reading a lot, I guess I kind of see like the good in characters, or I expect to. And Merrick is the main character, so even though you obviously see signs as you go along, but I guess like early on the book, I guess I wouldn't necessarily expect her to be turned to a vampire, but I guess like I kind of didn't expect Lestat would turn David Talbot either, even probably his is like kind of doing what he wants to do. So I guess for me, it was kind of a surprise. And also, you turn somebody who's like in her own right powerful, besides the powers that being a vampire gives you. So you create a very powerful character, and the blood she's getting is going to make her powerful. So beyond like just like say if like a newly turned vampire turned her. So I guess I'm kind of surprised by it. Be interesting to see if we see more of her in succeeding books.
Yeah,
I'd like to see more of her. And I like to see her too. Like we're talking about, like merges like the Mayfair Witches, which it's decades since I read those books, but if she could like kind of like interact with the the main group of the Mayfair Witches, that'd be cool. Obviously, it's not going to happen if it hasn't already happened because Anne Rice is not here anymore. But I would like to see more of Merrick.
She might come up in Blood Canticle, though, because like I say, there's a tie-in with the Mayfair Witches and Teltos. So Merrick, and I haven't read it yet. So other than Blackwood Farms and Prince Lestat, there's several of the books that are, again, going to be first-time reads for me. But yeah, she would definitely be an interesting character for sure, because that's an excellent point, Stuart. It almost called you David. But you're right that, whether she's turned by David, who, if that's, and I can't remember now, if David turned her, she's going to be massively powerful because Lestat turned him, who had blood from Akasha. If Louis turned her, she's going to be powerful in terms of her witchcraft and those abilities, but she's not going to be as strong initially because Louis was turned by Lestat before he drank from Akasha, which just saying that all out loud made me realize why David's stronger than Louis.
No, wait a minute. Didn't Lestat already drink from Akasha? Because he met with Marius before he took off to New Orleans.
No, wait a minute. Okay, I stand corrected. So now again, I don't know why Louis then would be less strong than David.
I think that's part of the problem with her writing, is that part didn't make any sense.
Or is it, because you're right, Leslie, Lestat drank from, that's why he had to leave Marius, because he drank from Akasha, and then Leo was a unhappy statue. So Lestat went to New Orleans, turned Louis, but he'd already drank from Akasha. Now, Ah, but he drank from Akasha more in Queen of the Damned,
Yes. Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And Queen of the Damned is before the body thief when he turned David.
Yes. Yeah.
So is David stronger just because he had an extra boost from Akasha? I don't know. Like, I need to mind web this out of who was what when, because, like, my little pea brain can't process all of it. And so, Stuart, you're right. And this just goes to prove it. We just read these books, and I still can't track all of the who did what when and why is one stronger than the other. So I can't even imagine trying to piece this together over a decade of waiting for these books to come out in between. Like,
Yeah.
no wonder she got away with some of this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, yikers.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? Yeah, I don't know where we're going with this. Um, I don't know. I don't know if maybe I guess that was her desire because she's definitely like a very like not. She's naughty in the way that we enjoy Lestat being naughty, you know.
Mm,
And so I think maybe that's the draw for me with Merrick. She's very crafty. I kind of feel like she's manipulative like Claudia, and just as role breakery as Lestat. And so maybe she had the desire to become a vampire and kept that to her close to the vest.
mm,
And then when Louis came along, it's kind of like a perfect storm of opportunity for her. Um, and so that was a way to barter with him, I guess, in a way. Is like, oh, you want to use me as a vessel to connect to this ghost. Well, I want to become a vampire. That's kind of like my thinking.
mm.
I don't know if it, to me, I don't know if that completely makes sense because she, I mean, it worked out for her, but she's operating under the assumption that once she becomes a vampire, that she gets to hold on to best of both worlds in a way, like power wise.
Mm.
And we don't really know how that works, right? And I don't know if anyone else in that world knows how that works to be a witch and also a vampire. So how do you know, like, there's an assumption of once she becomes a vampire that she's not going to lose, or like, how do you even know that's even going to work?
So
Like,
you watch Vampire Diaries where it didn't work.
oh yeah, yes. So it's like, how do you
Because
know?
there they couldn't be one if they were a witch and turned, which to me on which to me didn't make sense. I mean, okay, you're dead, but you could still connect with nature. But in Vampire Diaries, you lost that ability on the show. I don't know about the books because the books are different than the show. But in the show, you lost those abilities. But yeah, here, and I'm trying to think if it tells us in the end if Merrick even still does have her powers. Because you're right, Leslie. If, I can't think of, and I've read the Mayfair Witches, but the vampires don't show up there. The Talamasca does, David and Aaron. I'm not sure if there is another witch in this series that's been turned, and Merrick has certainly done her studies and research. So, did she maybe find something in the extensive files of the Talamasca where there was a witch turned and still had their powers? Or was she just taking a chance that it was going to work out the way she hoped?
Yeah, there's just a lot of. She just gambled. She took a big gamble and she
Hmm.
tried in that way, like as far as her own self interest. Um, but I was also wondering, what did the two of you think about uh, the negative consequence on Louis? Because once he hears, you know, Claudia's truth, which may have been
Mm.
own insecurities mirrored back at him, he does decide to try and take his own life. What did you think about that?
Go ahead, Stuart.
I think like that's probably not surprising that he tried to do that, or we think about doing that because he was so devoted to her and he was making this effort to find. Although, as Leslie's saying, like maybe he was under somewhat a spell of Merrick, but like, it wouldn't be surprised when everything you were kind of counting on. Although in another way, well, we're still not sure. I was going to say another way, he did maybe see that she was in fact a ghost or whatever, but we're not even sure that that was accurate because we don't know if it was truly her. But I guess it's not surprising in that that situation that he might consider that when something you were kind of counting on, you discovered that person you were devoted to wasn't really devoted to you. Another thing I wanted is just like, this is another aside too, related to Louis, but one reason to really kind of maybe like Louis is you got to be impressed because in these books he's had multiple offers of being able to, suck powerful blood and become more powerful, and he's refused them. He could become the equal of these other vampires or close to, but he's refused those opportunities to become much more powerful, which would, because he's not much more powerful, he could, it would make him easier if he did want to end his life.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I was as you were both talking, I was thinking as well. One thought, and it's just because it's been a while since I've read Merrick, she knew it would crush Louis. And I think it was Merrick that went to Britain to get all this, or was it David who went to get the stuff from the Telemasca, the sheet from Claudia's journal and a couple other things so she could do the spell. And I remember thinking, because Louis is a delicate little flower, bless his human heart that stopped beating centuries ago, but he really is delicate in some ways compared to the others, except he keeps going. And you almost wonder, whatever he ended up hearing from Claudia, was his big plan to still call it quits after that? Because he did love Claudia, and then he finds out she didn't feel the same way. But would he have still tried to kill himself if she had loved him or cared for him as much? Because to him, that would be closure, because he doesn't want to be a vampire anyway. That's part of why he's turned down all these offers to become more powerful, is he doesn't want to lose that option of being able to kill himself. But then at the end of this book, he realizes, well, crap, that's not an option after all. So, hit me with your best shot, get me a little bit stronger because I'm here for the long haul. Right? Would he have just called it quits anyways? Because on one hand, he would have had closure. On the other hand, he's just got depression. And isn't that what brings Lestat finally out of his sleepy thing to come save Louis?
Yeah, that's a great question. Maybe that was in like the back of his mind, that once he connected with her, maybe then he could be there's just a part of him that could finally be at peace with what he participated in and let it go. Because this whole time he's been holding on to it, right?
Yeah.
That experience with Claudia and Lestat. So yeah, maybe in the back of his mind, connecting with her is kind of like one last goodbye or closure closure no matter the answer, actually. Even if she had said all these like beautiful things, maybe he would have still tried to end his life. Yeah, that's like such a quick question. But then I also was wondering to ask the both of you, what do you think about Lestat waking up to soup up Louis again?
Go ahead, Stuart.
Yeah, there's, it's just like, it's a lot of these. There's just interesting relationships in here. And the primary one, the one to start was between Louis and Lestat. That there's some, it's like, it's hard to like kind of wrap my arms around what like a vampire like Lestat would think. But obviously there is like in his own vampire way, he obviously does care about Louis, because that's like, after he's just lying there and all these other vampires are coming, some of them just to see him, but some of them concerned with him. This is the one thing that woke him up. Obviously for him, in his, like I say, his vampire way, there is a, he does care for Louis, or else, because that's the only thing that woke him up. Louis being in danger, and that needed to be like kind of nursed back. I don't know the right word, but got back, like get him back so he could like, over time become healthy again. Is what roused him, and he sensed that there's also a connection between him and Louis, because he could sense what happened there. His vampire senses allowed it. So even despite the things like we're talking about early on, Louis said about Lestat in the first book there, there obviously Lestat has a care for Louis.
Yeah, I agree with Stuart. And I mean, the whole thing with Claudia, that was Lestat's way of keeping Louis close. Like Lestat just couldn't bear to be alone and have Louis leave him. And he knew that if there was a child, Louis wouldn't. And then, I mean, we know how that turned out. But, Lestat makes a lot of goofy decisions to try and keep people with him that go off the rafters. But, the same is Lestat's been like out to lunch since the veil got found. And he's just laying around not doing much of anything while everybody else is coming and trying to help him and everything else. And I mean, Lestat doesn't even respond to his mom, who's standing, off to the side. And yet, when Louis becomes a burnt French fry, that's what gets him off his ass. Like, uh-oh, shit just got real. And he wakes up, right? Because, Louis is in a bad way and others could save him. But I don't think Lestat would be happy with that. I mean, there's lots of vampires around. It's not like Louis is going to be Mr. Crispy forever. But Lestat wants to be the one to be there to save him. Like he's almost got that I need to be needed thing like Marius. He just hasn't fine-tuned it as much as Marius yet.
Fine-tuning is a great choice of words.
I get colorful. Stuart, were you going to say something else?
No, nothing I could think of. Yeah, but you do like put it in a different light, because I'm putting the light that like Lestat is like saving Louis Rouse because he cares, but it's also like because he needs to be needed, so he wants to be the first one to save Louis because somebody else would do it too. But he just makes sure he's the first there. So that's putting it kind of a different light than I was thinking of it.
Well, but I think too, I mean, the important part is he's doing it because he cares. but Lestat always has another motive. Like, dude never does something for one simple reason or because it's the right thing to do. There's always some payoff for Lestat. And in this case, it's if I don't save him, he may not be there for me next time. So I think there's that caring component to it. To me, Lestat, there's always some other reason. There's always some other motive. Maybe it's just because I don't trust the dude. And yeah, because he just always seems to have another reason for doing things. I find it maybe hard to believe that he would do it solely because he cares. Stuart?
Yeah, what you say, yeah, it does. He does. He does have other reasons. It's kind of funny because after reading Lestat as much as I have, I still view characters, even though he's a vampire, done a lot of stuff. I still view him as like thinking he's gonna like do the right thing, despite the fact that he's many times demonstrate that he won't. Like I remember like early on, Lestat was always gonna destroy the evil goer, and that's how I remembered it. But rereading these books, a lot of times he has killed randomly. He hasn't just. I only remember one time he killed a baby, but there was other times too. So I remember, like, despite evidence to the contrary, I think of him as a certain way when he demonstrates that that's not the way he's just kind of going to do what he's going to do. And yeah, he has multiple reasons for doing stuff, and it's all centered around him. And but I just I still don't like. Despite the evidence, I still view him in a certain way that he doesn't always deserve to be viewed in. So,
well, hope springs eternal. he may prove me wrong yet in one of the books, Stuart. Because
we're pretty far along though for that to occur. I think. What is this book? Is this book 7? Is that the number?
I need to.
I think we're on 6 right
6.
now.
So it's book 6. That's. He might, but that's pretty far along. So I still find a compelling character, though.
Yeah, well, and hang on to that because, like I say, there is one book farther that I've read that your viewpoint may actually be the correct one. And I'm just going to leave it at that because I'm not going to leave any spoilers. So we'll leave it at Hope Springs Eternal, and Lestat may surprise us yet. Leslie?
Sorry about all the noise. I keep muting because I'm trying to avoid hearing the gong, 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 gong. I forgot. I was like, I need to start writing notes when we're talking because I'm going to forget everything. I think that I really like what Stuart was saying as far as like dynamics. Louis. I think that, Lestat definitely wakes up because he's like, my man. Like, it's so funny because so Claudia slit Lestat's throat. Claudia burned their home down. And then in Tale of the Body Thief, Lestat burned Louis's home down. So it's just, and there's no details, but Louis will say in any vampire, like, oh, we fought, or, so we know they were like fighting. Even back then, when they had the most time together, they had the most intense and I would say violent of times together. And yet, that's the person that he will bring back to life. Like Elaine says, his mom shows up and like, Lestat doesn't even bat an eyelash. His own mother.
Literally.
And Lestat smooched on his mom, made his mom a vampire, which even the vampires thought that was wrong. They're like, there wasn't necessarily a rule, but they're like, who does that?
Yeah.
We didn't know we need to put that in writing. Don't make your parent a vampire and start smooching on him because that changes the dynamic. And yet it's Louis is the one that ultimately wakes him up. And I find that I wish I had more to say on that, other than I find that incredibly fascinating. And there's just something about Louis that Lestat needs. And for all of Lestat's antics, that again, I feel like I totally get what Stuart's saying. Like, there's this monstrous character, but there's something about him that a person keeps just gravitating towards, and even me as a reader. But I almost feel like for all the mumbling and grumblings that Louis is kind of presented as like this wet blanket, I feel like that's the other part of Lestat that he needs. He needs that person that's gonna humble him and bring him down a notch, and maybe occasionally burn his house down and cut his throat. Like maybe that's what Lestat needs to like stay grounded. And that's why he can't let Louis die, He's like, not you. Even if that's what you want, you got to stay with me, because I can't be on this plane of existence forever without you. I'm over here touching, what was it? The veil. I'm over here potentially touching Jesus, and I may have talked to the devil, but I can't handle any of it if you're not here in the world with me, So he gets barbecue Louis, and he does his thing, and he brings him back to life.
Barbecue Louis, that's cute. But yeah, there's another good point, and I think we've talked about that in one of the earlier streams, is, these bizarre relationships, and Lestat doesn't so much worry about jumping off, in the deep end, because he's always counting on Louis and then David to save him and bring him back to the shallow end where he can, put his feet back on the ground and get to the edge of the pool. Because he's forever jumping off the deep end without thinking about things. Like he's Mr. Well, like you said, Stuart, he's an interesting character to read about. When you go along with him for the ride in a fictional book, there's going to be something totally chaotic and bizarre happening. And it'll be an adventure. It'll be wild. And then someone's going to come to the rescue, because he's going to take it way far beyond what's reasonable, even for a vampire. So, yeah, it's been an interesting read. And I agree. Like, if we do see Merrick, I'm very curious to see what kind of a vampire she ends up turning into. Like, is she going to be as sporadic and spontaneous as Lestat, or is some of her Talamasca training going to kick in and she'll be somewhat more not thought worthy, but kind of like David. David doesn't really go off the deep end into big adventures. He's very methodical and thinks things through. And now that he's a vampire, that's where the book Pandora and Vittorio come up. That's David keeping records in the vampire world. And I don't think he necessarily gives that stuff to the Talamasca, but he's still the investigator and the researcher. So I don't know. Just for the heck of it, what do you think? What kind of vampire would she be, Stuart?
Well, one thing I was thinking, based upon an earlier discussion here, is that it might be possible that, I just assumed that Merrick was going to, her witch powers would continue as a vampire. And Leslie pointed that might not be the case. Maybe it's a crapshoot. But is it possible that Merrick wanted so much to be immortal that she doesn't necessarily care if she keeps her powers? That the immortality may be in itself the reward, and it'd be nice if she had her powers, but if she's just a powerful immortal, that losing her powers would be an acceptable bargain for that.
Good point.
I mean, I certainly think, as far as just from a writing perspective and a reading perspective, if she isn't further books and she had her powers, that make an interesting character. But just judging on possibly Merrick just wants to be immortal, and whether or not she keeps her powers isn't not of great concern to her.
Hmm.
Kat made a good point in the chat, the last one down.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. See, and again, forgot, right? So Menkare and Maharat. Yep, the twins did keep their power to speak with ghosts. And yeah. Now would Merrick know that? I'm not sure, because we don't really get the twin story until Queen of the Damned. And that's only between the vampires. And David, wait, is David there?
Yeah, David's there.
No, he becomes a vampire a couple books later, doesn't he?
Yeah, but he was there as a human.
When Maharat's...
I mean, he was in Queen of the Damned as a human.
Oh, okay.
Like Spartan.
But he wasn't at the meeting when Maher... No. Oh, I always get him confused. The sister with the bad eyes, she's telling the whole story.
Mm-hmm.
But the Talamasca don't know about the twins. I don't think. Which means Merrick wouldn't have known yet. But we do... Oh,
as we laughing, Kat said one of them, they're twins.
Yeah, that's right. They look the same. Pick one.
But I'm just remembering our whole conversation in terms of like narrative storytelling and like if it makes sense, because of the eyes, and we're bringing up like, why aren't the eyes just like reconstituting and working?
Well, and you know what? That's an excellent point, because if they can heal, which they do, why don't her eyes heal, and why didn't the other one grow back her tongue?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because well, but again, and that's one of the, when you read through these things, because we know Louis improves. We know Armand comes back from being a French fry. So if they can do that, why can't the twins regrow the body parts that got taken out? Because they were already vampires when they were put in those boxes. Or, oh, now I can't remember. Did that happen when they were human and then they got turned after?
That's a great question.
Then why wouldn't their body part? Oh, I don't know. It's too much for my little pea brain. And I see we're just past 2.5 hours. How time flies when we're trying to make sense of an Anne Rice book and all the other twists and turns in the Chronicles.
And I'm none the wiser.
Well, it's like anything, right? You end up with more questions than answers. Because the Talamasca I find fascinating, but there's so many questions about them. Just the vampires in general, like the relationships, their choices. And I mean, Lestat and Louis pretty much stay semi-true to themselves. Lestat will do anything for the sake of adventure. That doesn't change. And Louis is going to be Mr. Passive-aggressive. We might see some changes after this book, because now he knows he can't die. That's going to mess with his head, because he enjoyed being depressed, and now he's really going to be like, crap, I don't have that get out of vampire life free card anymore. So he's going to have to come to terms with, dude's stuck. Like he's not going anywhere. So is he going to make some choices to get more powerful because he's lost that card to do himself in, if I remember correctly, because I know Merrick went to get him help, but either way, I don't think he would have totally cooked himself sitting out in the sun. I'm gonna have to read the last couple chapters again. Cat, he's just an emo vamp. We're pre-vamp. Oh, okay. Oh yeah. See, were they pre-vamp injuries? Christopher Moore's vamps get fixed when being changed. And see, there you go. Oh, somebody made a good point. Can't remember who was where when. Yeah, exactly. It's like I need to do one big ass Bristol board mind web of the Vampire Chronicles. It might be a whole video, but I'm not doing it as I do it because there's going to be a lot of erasing and corrections. I'll have to do it as a little, hey, have to do it as a little practice thing first. Hey, Gareth, something I haven't read here anyway. Well, thank you. We're about to wrap up. We've been babbling for 2.5 hours. And yes, I'm the invisible person because my stupid computer said it can't find my camera. I'm like, computer, it's at the top of the screen. Like, I can see it. Why can't you find it? It's not like I'm trying to hook up a webcam. You're all part of the same damn machine. But anywho, number one, thank you so much, Stuart and Leslie and Kat, for joining. And Kat, feel better soon. Stuart, Leslie, any comments you want to add before we wrap up today's live?
First, I want to say I hope Kat feels better soon. And second, this is totally an aside. It's just something I think about. This is an unpopular opinion, I'm sure, but I actually like the character of Gabrielle. I know most people don't like her, but I actually like her. It's not like, she was mentioned briefly in this discussion, but I just wanted to say that. Kind of like her as a character.
Actually, Stuart, what do you like about her?
I just like she's just very independent. She just goes, as we said earlier, she, the stat changed her. Was another example of like, probably shouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
But she just kind of goes off on her own and she does whatever she wants. She just goes off in the forest, parts unknown, and just like probably viewed as a god by the people there. I don't know, but she just does what she wants. I just think she's a cool character, but I understand why people don't like her because she's kind of not there. She's just kind of not there for Lestat or anybody, but I just like her. But unrelated to this discussion, but yeah, it's like raised a lot of good points, and I appreciate you guys inviting me to these discussions and let me take part in them. They are fun. Things I didn't think about, and a lot of food for thought.
Well, it's fun having you here. And yeah, I agree. I mean, there's stuff that comes up for me all the time. So I'm having a blast. And thanks for joining me on the journey. Leslie?
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to continue that conversation before I have any wrap up. I completely agree, Stuart. I also really like Gabrielle. They're all complicated characters. So yeah, maybe smooching our son, not cool. But I think there's something that's like, she's just a different unhinged that I like. Like, I kind of wish she hadn't told her son, but I do like the lines about her saying like she fantasizes about going to town and just letting everybody have their way with her. That was like hilarious to me. But also I was thinking about a woman of her time. There's all these things she couldn't do. And there are things that she didn't do for Lestat. Like not teaching him how to read at a young age. Like he eventually does, but she didn't. She had so much knowledge and she didn't like impart that. But I also think like, well, again, it doesn't make it right. But I wonder if she was just if there's a level of like jealousy to the male species because of the access that they had that she didn't, and that's why sometimes she just was not there for her kids. And I also think she doesn't really she doesn't really like the social norms, and I think that's also why, like, even the vampiric rules and all this stuff, she's just like, this is crap, and that's why she goes off to the forest. And I think honestly, if I was a vampire, yeah, I'd peace out and go into the forest too. I don't like how humanity's turning out. I got a mango menace up in here. Like, I just don't care. So part of me gets it. And when we read the vampire Armand, really early on, when he's like in the beginning chapters, he sees that Gabrielle's there, and Armand in his thoughts, he says something like to us, the reader, like, "Oh, Gabrielle's not even brushing Lestat's hair, and it looks crazy." But I'm like, she probably doesn't brush her hair or take a bath. She's probably in the dirt all the time. She's the one even gives Lestat the idea to sleep in the dirt, because she's just trying to experiment and figure out what works. So anyway, so yeah, I'm waxing poetic also about Gabrielle. But yeah, I've loved our conversations. There's some crazy, unhinged, wild characters, and I really admire a woman that came into the world, wrote some crazy crap, and made a living off of it. Like, if you want to champion capitalism, there you go. So I'm all for it. And also, I just realized the next book that we're going to be reading is going to be Blood and Gold, and that's focusing on Marius, right?
Yep.
That actually came before Blackwood Farms. Okay, because this one I haven't read. And I'm not a fan of Marius, so let's see how this one goes.
Now, it'll be really interesting, Leslie, to see which version you have. Because, like I say, my version is the cleaned up version. Kat had the version that was first published with a whole lot of graphic detail.
Mm-hmm.
Mine was tamer than the vampire Armand, which made it really funny about reading this, because we get Armand's viewpoint and history, and then we get Marius's description of what was going on between them. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what you think. Now, I know I said that I'm not going to be planning any live streams for a bit. We've got some medical stuff coming up with Bob. Results so far are good, but he does have a surgery coming up, and we don't know when the date of that is yet, and what other stuff is going to be flowing from all of that adventure in our lives. So I just figured I'd put the live streams on hold for now. And then maybe, if it's okay with the three of you, look at potentially July or August to do a Blood and Gold live stream. Does that work for the three of you?
Whenever works for you, works for me. No,
Leslie?
never.
Yeah, same. You're the medical stuff is more important. I'll be here when you're ready, but don't feel pressure to like nail down a time. Just reach out as far as like a timeline when it works for you, and then we'll kind of like reconvene.
Okay, well, I just feel bad and thank you, Gareth. I certainly will. I just feel bad, and Stuart, because you're in the ACOTAR group as well. I just hope people haven't bought books and then, we're not getting to them. So, Stuart, have you been getting ACOTAR from the library?
I was able to. I did borrow the third book, and I was happy to get it, but I didn't realize it's one of those. A lot of the books I borrow from the library, they automatically renew twice. But I suppose, not surprisingly, ACOTAR was only for 21 days. So I think it's a long book. So when it does come the time to, like, it looks like there's going to be a discussion to it, I think I need to buy a copy, because I'm not great at reading books that fast. And I might have just been lucky the time I got it, and
Okay.
maybe it might not be available again. So.
Okay, well, don't buy it yet, because I don't know when that ACOTAR group's going to come together, and I just feel bad if you spent 20 or however many bucks on a book. So if you can get it from the library, That's awesome, because I don't know when I'm going to get. I'm up to Silver Flames again. I'm not doing book 6 and 7. Book 5 books of Akatar is all boom chicka wawa, Fay Bang, and I can handle. Um, but I have to say, the second read through has been much more enjoyable than the first read through. And part of it has been the discussion, even though there hasn't been a lot going on in the Voxer group. It has been good. Same as with Vampire Chronicles, right? For me, a big part, and that's my focus this year, are the interactions and those discussions. Because to me, that's what really brings the stories more to life. Is yes, authors are my heroes because they, give me the nonfiction stuff to learn and the fiction to escape and cope with the cray-cray that sometimes is the world. But the other heroes are the people I have to learn more about what I'm reading, whether that's more factual information or like our discussion today of, hey, what do you think about this character? And wow, until you said that, I hadn't thought of that. And so it brings another level to reading, I think. So thank you all for that, because it really does make it a fun and more enjoyable experience to be able to share that with people.
Yeah, no, thank you. I'm glad you got us all together. It's a lot of fun. I love all these characters, but it feels really nice to kind of collectively have our Voxer chats and we're just really talking ish about these characters at the same time because they're so ridiculous, even though we love them. So it's a lot of fun.
Well, I behave myself in Voxer, but I laughed the other day when you put the comment about Lestat is coming, which I'm guessing you meant the series is coming back. Mm-hmm. But I read that comment, and the first thing, honestly, that came to my mind was, when isn't he? Because he's always with somebody. Like, the dude just doesn't rein it in ever.
The world.
Yeah. He's a giving kind of guy.
Yeah.
I'm not sure giving in the right way, but I mean, on the other hand, though, and I mean, I do have to say, for all his riches and everything else, there are a lot of things Lestat has not left behind about being human, but he really, in a boom boom way, he really is giving. Like, he has no issue bringing someone into his home, sharing his riches, giving them clothing, making sure they've got food, blood, whatever it is they need, human vampire. He really truly is almost like a charity worker of the vampire world.
Okay. You're giving him a lot of credit.
Yeah, but and it's too bad you can't see my face. But the thing is, when you think about it, in all the books, other than people who are treating others badly, he doesn't really turn anyone away who needs help.
Very true. Very, very true.
I mean, I'm still team...
With what is his name? The Blackwood Farm book, Quinn? Which is exactly
Quinn,
right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because he does start in that one, too. I don't think Louise in that one, but yeah. So, yeah. Well, I've read Blood and Gold, so I just need to get to Blackwood. But, I mean, really and truly, I'm still Team Louis, don't get me wrong. I haven't shifted to Team Lestat. But when you do think about it, he really and truly does help out anyone who crosses his path.
Yeah.
I mean, look at everything he did for Armand. Initially. He got the dude out of the cemetery.
Yeah, he broke up the cult that he ruled.
Yeah. That's not a bad thing. Those people were like seriously messed. And there's a whole other, that'll have to wait for another live stream. There's a whole other thing, is the way she described those, what were they? I was going to say Children of the Corn, but I'm thinking of
Children of Darkness.
Yeah, I'm thinking Stephen King there. Yeah, the children of darkness. I mean, the way she describes them, and again, they've got their rules and their mandate, and yet they thought nothing of throwing innocent mortal children into a fire.
Hmm.
What now? And then they go hunting whoever. So unlike Marius and Lestat, who, every once in a while break that evildoer rule, but I mean, the children went after everybody. So that being broken up was not a bad thing. The bad thing was Armin didn't figure it out sooner because, oh, wait, is that a spoiler?
I
Okay,
think
never mind.
Armand is also very manipulative, right? This is someone that could get into people's minds and making them hallucinate. I mean, Interview the Vampire, like everything
Mm,
happens, and by the end of Interview the Vampire, Armand, I think out of guilt, he tells Louis like, "Hey, I have to get this off my chest. I knew it was gonna happen with Claudia. Like, I'm kind of like the one behind it." And then, of course, Louis, the most passive aggressive,
mm.
is like, "I know."
Yeah, and
so,
somehow
so
and they
Armand
end up
found
as a
himself out
couple.
himself, but he wants. I think what is it? What is it called when there's like a term for it when you weaponize your incompetence? I don't know,
Um,
but that's definitely Armand. I think he's like a different manipulative.
mm,
It's almost like when you have a terrible manager, you know, but they just won't quit. They just want some, or if you're in a bad relationship, and like you're not gonna break it off. You want the other person to be the one to break it off,
yeah.
so you just stay in it.
See, now there's an interesting point with Armand is, yeah, I forgot that he could manipulate minds.
Yeah, he's a naughty one. He's not innocent. He didn't need help being escaped. You know, he just. Where do I start with him? Victim or monster? He's both.
Yeah, they're definitely interesting characters. Well, I'll keep everyone posted on um life in my little world that it is. And, hopefully all goes well and the universe doesn't decide to throw us any other unexpected curveballs lately because we've kind of had enough between Xena and then Panther in January. And he's thankfully responding well to his meds, touch wood. So we've got that hurdle behind us. And then we just have the next hurdle to get behind us. And I'm sure then the universe will throw us something else. Actually, I was talking to, well, like I say, my sister in law and brother in law suddenly showed up today, and that was a lovely surprise. But where was I going with that? There was something there I was going to add, and I love these mind farts that just boom, like I need to start right. Actually, she and I were joking because she's also got things with memory, and we're like, yeah, thank God for paper and pencil and writing things down. But the stinky part is when you lose the note that you wrote things down on, because then it's not helpful. But anyhow, yeah, we'll see what happens, and wait, Kat has something here. Weaponized or at work, we have one naivety.
Weaponized incompetence. Yes, that's what it is. That's Armand. Armand started that all.
Yeah. So, but things should, like I say, hope. Oh, that's what it was. I was saying to my sister-in-law, people have that whole what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I said, I think those people are just crackheads because, like, seriously, there's only so much you can put up with, and the universe needs to understand that. Like, quit throwing poo poo at people because everyone's exhausted, they're tired, and things need to calm down. Just calm down.
I don't say things like that out loud. I just keep the bar real low. I don't want to jinx myself.
Well, there's that. There's that whole, what you put out in the universe comes back. So I'm going to like keep happy thoughts and keep putting out sunshine, sunshine, sunshine. And we'll see what comes back, because sometimes it works in reverse for me. So sometimes when I put like gnarly stuff out, something good comes. You got to just know. You just got to know what day to do that. Not gnarly, like, 6 feet under gnarly.
That's the list stat thought if I ever heard one, Elaine.
Well, see, there you go. That's not all bad. It's just he's fictional and things work out different for him. Well, they don't now because Rice isn't writing anymore, so I guess he's actually a done dude. Oh crap, pissed her off too much. Yeah, there you go. Need to go away. Yeah, and so now my next adventure, and we'll see if I still have a laptop tomorrow, is to try and figure out Streamlabs again. Because it's just some stupid little blip, in which case I could do reading and live sprints, but I only have so many hours on StreamYards. And oh, look, suddenly Streamlabs comes in. Whoa! And what's this doing? Please, okay, Gareth, ignore Streamlabs. I don't even know what that's doing in here, but stupid thing won't let me stream.
Streamlabs is sassy.
Yeah, it shouldn't be in here in StreamYard.
I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's like, what do you, yeah, I agree. Streamlabs is rude. Keep your radar up for the good stuff. Make sure you take it in and appreciate it. Pause. Yeah, I agree with Gareth. And Gareth ignores Streamlabs. I don't even know what it's doing in my StreamYard stream. I agree with Kat. I'm going to have to get that little bot under control. Stupid thing won't let me go live, so it should just shut its little bot hole. So you put up good stuff, get punished. No, what is that saying? No good deed goes unpunished. Well, I think before Streamlabs, oh yeah, and I should warn you, Kat, if this little bot's going to show up in here, I may have to take it off my mod thing. Kat, that little bot will also tell you too many emojis. Stop it. So you may not be able to spam the chat. That'll be hilarious. I'll come into my chat and find Kat arguing with the bot. Have like 20 messages before the stream even starts. I think on that note, we're going to say thank you so much, Stuart, Leslie, Kat, for the awesome reads. Thank you to everyone who's popped by. Thank you so much, Gareth, for the awesome advice. And